Hi, welcome to our sacred journeys. My name is Reverend Donna, and I am looking forward to sharing with you a message about Halloween and Samhain and how it can relate to our everyday lives. I love metaphysics because we talk about the different interpretations of some of the holidays and other um, traditions in a way that's practical and usable in today's world. And today I wanted to focus on Halloween and Samhain and letting go and what that means. I like to start with prayer before we talk any more about that. And it's one of my ways to ground us and anchor us into this time together. That I recognize and know that there's only that one mind, that one power, that one presence that we know is God, that we know is Spirit, that it guides and directs in every moment, that dwells deep within each and every one of us, that is that sacred opportunity to recognize all there is that infinite essence, that infinite light that we know is God. And as I call this time good and very good, it is blessed as we explore some of the deeper spiritual meanings behind Halloween and Samhain. Grateful for this time together, I give thanks. Calling this time good and very good, I let it be, and so it is. Oftentimes, I think when I think of Halloween and Samhain, it's in the symbolism and the deep spiritual sacredness, the meaning behind the holiday. There are many different traditions that are celebrated at this time of year. There's many different, ways that we may experience this holiday, not even realize it. It it flows through so many different cultures and societies over the years and decades, and, um well, we think of Halloween as the fall time. Back in pagan times, Samhain was their new year. It was celebrating the end of the harvest and the beginning of winter. It was an opportunity to come together as a society to support one another and prepare for that contemplation time of the darkness that it was coming, the times where they weren't going to be working, that they were going to be staying in their homes and being quiet and reflecting and contemplating um, all kinds of deeper spiritual meanings for them at this time of year. We tend to think of December 31st and January 1st as our new year. So when we think about trick or treating turns or some of the other things that we associate Halloween with, I want us to look a little deeper and invite us to look a little deeper into the spiritual meanings of this time of year and what that can represent for each of us. When we think um, of death and dying and rebirth, all of those things have roots in this time of year in Halloween and Samhain. Samhain was a Celtic holiday that was celebrated, and I want us to be invited to realize that this time of year also represents opportunities for us to go within to ourselves, to look at the darkness, to look at what it is that we would like to see die in our own life. And I don't mean in the physical sense, but in the metaphysical, the metaphorical sense of what habits or limiting beliefs or ideas that we're willing to let die, to let go of. Just like trees let go of leaves at this time of year, they know that those leaves will be reborn in spring. There'll be new growth, new beginnings. But in order to experience that, these leaves need to be released, to let go. So we can also think of it as the shadow work, looking at the parts of us that we're uncomfortable with, we might be embarrassed by or feel shame. But if we can shine the light on that and experience the newness, the sacredness of this of this invitation to see the world in a different way, to let go of those fears. Debbie Ford, who had done a lot of work on the shadow work in her writings and in her talks. And I have a few quotes from her that I wanted to share. One is like the lotus flower that is born out of mud, we must honor the darkest parts of ourselves and the most painful of our life's experiences because they are what allow us to birth our most beautiful self. For those of you who are familiar with the story of the lotus flower, in order for a lotus flower to be seen, it must come up through the muck and the mud and the dirt and the heavy water in the deepest parts of the river or the pond to come to the surface. And as that lotus flower makes its way to the surface, the water cleanses the flowers, the petals. It allows it to open and to eventually break through the water so that we can see that beautiful lotus flower. But it must do that work to do that, for us to enjoy the beauty of that lotus flower. We are like that lotus flower. We must work through the darkness, through the dirt, the muck, the trauma, the painful experiences, whatever it may be, for us to, as Debbie Ford calls it, birth our most beautiful self. If you think about it as the caterpillar that becomes the butterfly, it's another example. That caterpillar that goes into the cocoon, in order for it to break free of that cocoon and be able to fly, it must do all of the work itself. It must be able to flap its wings and get the water out of its wings all the way through to strengthen the wings to give it power to fly. If you think about a chicken, that hen's egg that has a chick in it that's been fertilized, in order for it to be birthed, to be hatched, that egg has to shake from side to side and reverberate. And eventually you'll see a beak break through that shell. They say when an egg is broken open from the inside, life comes forth. When it's broken open from the outside in, life dies. So let's think of that chicken, that hen egg that is being broken open from the inside out. It's doing that beautiful work to be birthed, to be hatched. Same thing with this time of year when we do our own shadow work, when we work through our fears and our limiting beliefs and any aspects of self-sabotage to step into that greater yet to be. We have this invitation, and I'm inviting us to say yes to it. Debbie Ford also says fear keeps us rooted in the past. Fear of the unknown, fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, fear of not having enough, fear of not being enough, fear of the future. All of these fears and more keep us trapped, repeating the same old patterns and making the same choices over and over again. Fear prevents us from moving outside our comfort zone or even the familiar discomfort of what we know. It's nearly impossible to achieve our highest vision for our lives as long as we are being guided by our fears. So, what is it that we're willing to let go of? Is it the discomfort of even though we don't like it and we don't feel right in it, it's the known. So we're going to put up with it. We're going to stick with it because we'd rather have this feeling than the unknown and what may come down the pike. I'm inviting us to let all of that go, to step into that greater yet to be, to let go of those fears of things that we may not even realize we're afraid of. A former coworker of mine, he's made his transition. His name was ML. He wrote a story once called "The Monster Under Our Bed," and I define that monster under our bed as sometimes as grief. It's the things we're not willing to look at, to heal, because we're afraid, we don't understand. You might have a different definition of the monster under your bed. But as we shine the light under our bed, that monster disappears, right? So, what if we were to shine the light and do our shadow work and see, as Debbie Ford calls it, our most beautiful self emerging out of the cocoon, emerging out of that egg, emerging out of the darkness into the light? When we think about that which no longer works for us, we must allow it to die, to bury it, to let it go, to allow something new to come into our experience. Let go of that what's not working. It may seem scary and it causes some anxiety and some trepidation, but I do believe if we can do this, especially at this time of year, utilize these coming winter months for reflection and contemplation, but we'll start now during this holiday of reflecting and letting go. I have a feeling we'll have a greater yet to be that is even a more amazing than we can even imagine. What false stories are we willing to let go of? What limiting beliefs are we willing to let go of? What ideas are we willing to let go of in this moment to embrace something new? We are invited to experience the darkness and the light cycles every day with day and night, night and day. Those are all cycles of darkness and light, letting us know it's okay to let go to begin again. That the end of a day begins, there's a new beginning with the next day. But we have to stop resisting it. What's that saying? What we resist persists. What are we willing to let go of? And just let it go gently. There are many rituals that we can do. There are many things that we can embrace as we're stepping into this new experience of who we are. Alan Watts says, by replacing fear of the unknown with curiosity, we open ourselves up to an infinite stream of possibility. We can let fear rule our lives, or we can become childlike with curiosity, pushing our boundaries, leaping out of our comfort zones, and accepting what life puts before us. That's what it's about. It's about accepting what is and what is not. Letting go of that which no longer serves is accepting a greater yet to be. And that's the hard part, I think, is sometimes is accepting things because we don't want to accept that something has come to an end, or it could be a relationship, it could be a job, it could be a home environment, it could be a belief we thought of ourselves that does no longer fit. It served its purpose. Give thanks for it because it did serve its purpose in some moment at some point in our life, but it no longer serves. So we can let it go. And that's our invitation to step into a greater yet, to be to see with a new perspective, to embrace change in a new way. One of my uh, favorite spiritual practices at this time of year for me is I follow Erin Bruce's work, and she wrote The Seasonal Soul. You can find it online. And she has different guidebooks and journals for different times of the year and different holidays. And the one that I always download and work through in my own way, is my own spiritual practice, is the Samhain guidebook. And they're fairly inexpensive, and you can download it as an ebook. I like to print it out because I like to hold it and write it out with pen and paper and do the meditations that are in there and some of the journal work. And she also suggests different foods and different rituals and different things we can ponder at this time of year to include in our spiritual practice. I call it including it in my spiritual toolbox. So I'm going to invite you to do that if you feel called to, or to find another way that serves you as you step into this sacred time of year and celebrate in a way that works for you. Light a candle, create an altar, um, spend time contemplating and remembering your ancestors and those whom you've loved who've made their transition. Maybe talk about memories or share stories with other loved ones, or with by yourself in your journal, or at your altar, or whatever it is that is calling to you in this time. Take a walk in a park, or sit by a body of water and just contemplate this time of year. That's my invitation to you, to do your own shadow work, to let go of what's no longer serving you. Shine the light on those parts of you that you're afraid to admit are there and you wouldn't want anyone else to know. But it's a part of who you are. It's part of the wholeness that is you. You might even find a deeper motivation why you're doing things or not doing things in your life. A dream that you want to achieve or something that you want to reach for that you're hesitant to do or have some trepidation about. Step out of those comfort zones. Do something that is something new for you. What is that saying? Continue to do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. I'm inviting you to do it a little differently. Thank you for listening today, and may you have a blessed, sacred time of year right now. And I'd like to close in prayer, giving thanks right now for the goodness that is God, goodness that is the divine that's expressing itself in, through, and as us in this very moment. Grateful for this time. I invite us to enter into our own hearts, to open those heart doors and turn within in contemplation and reflection, recognizing there's a greater yet to be, a highest good that's wanting to express itself through and as you in this moment. I invite you to claim it, name it, know it is true. Take a step on this journey called life. Take another step in a direction that you feel called to. And know it is the divine, that still small voice that guides and directs in every moment. Grateful for this time, calling it good and very good. I release my word into the law where I know it is done. I let it be, and so it is. May you enjoy yourself this sacred time of year. Take off the mask, take off the costume, enter into that who you are in this very moment. Many blessings. Namaste.